I believe it was Mark Twain who said, "It's not the parts of the Bible that I don't understand that bother me. It's the parts of the Bible that I do understand that bother me." And that would be true of today's gospel. There's just a whole lot of rebuking going on. And it's startling when you really look at what Jesus is saying. A little earlier, a couple verses before, all the disciples were asked by Jesus, "Who am I? Who do people say that I am? Who do you say that I am?" And Peter stumbled on the truth. "You are the Messiah. You're it. You're Jesus." And Jesus starts telling them what that means. How he must, and we're going to do a little Greek bit here. That verb there, "they," means God says he must. It's not just, "Oh, I want to go to Jerusalem and, be killed." It is God's plan that I go. It is a must. It's not an option, right? So what happens immediately is Peter rebukes Jesus. And again, the Greek there is the same word that you see when Jesus is casting out demons. He rebukes Satan and casts out demons. It's a very strong, it's like Peter is saying to Jesus, "Shut up! Shut up, Jesus! That's not the way it's going to go," because Peter is of the world, and Jesus' kingdom of God, and in Mark, even in some ways more than John, there's this dualism between the kingdom of God and the kingdom of this world, and when they come together, there's always this clashing. And so Peter says, "Shut up, Jesus, not that, no way." And Jesus says, "Shut up, Peter. You shut up. You know who you are? You're Satan." Whoa. See, it just got serious. It just got deep. The two kingdoms are clashing. And Jesus' most faithful, trustful disciple is being called out. And then Jesus calls the crowds and the disciples and begins to speak openly. If there's one consistent in Mark, it's that Jesus is always saying, "Shh, don't tell anybody." But now he's speaking openly, and what he's saying is a rebuke to the people gathered there, to the disciples, and frankly to us. So let's unpack that a little. I'll try to be nicer. I'll try not to scream, "Shut up." I'll try to gently encourage a different path. Okay? I rebuke anybody who thinks that just believing that Jesus is the Son of God is enough. I rebuke anybody who thinks that you can be a Christian of the kingdom of God and not the kingdom of man just by virtue of saying, "Oh, I know who that is. I know who Jesus is. I believe. That's good. I'm good. Nothing else required except believing in Jesus." Because after all, that's what it says in the Bible, right? Believe and be baptized. That's all I need. Of course, the problem with that is there are a lot of people that believe in Jesus that you wouldn't call Christians. First name that pops in my head is Satan. Satan believes that Jesus is the Son of God, but I wouldn't call him of God's kingdom. So there's got to be something more than just believing that Jesus is the Son of God. To gently move you in a different direction, perhaps. I rebuke anybody who thinks that being a Christian means that this world gets a lot easier. Right? As soon as you become a Christian, everything's going to go your way. Every problem will be solved, and it's all good because Jesus said, take up your Cadillac and follow me. Oh, wait a minute. That's not in there, is it? I rebuke what I see a lot of times on TV. One guy, if just everybody would send me $100, send the ministry $100, I could have my own plane, my own jet. Because that's what TV preachers need, is their own jets. Especially when they're based in one place. I'm not talking about Billy Graham or even a Joyce, who go around. This guy based in Atlanta. But he needed his own jet, so everybody sent him $100, and right? Now that's easy to make fun of, right? That's easy. What about us? I am so completely immersed in the kingdom of God that I trust God completely for all of my needs and many of my wants. So I will bring a full tithe into the storehouse, and I will give 10% to the kingdom of God. Maybe I'm only a 1% or 2%. I would multiply that by 10. So I have 10% belief. I have 20% belief. 80%, 90%. But the kingdom of this world tells me that if I do all the right things and I work hard and I invest well and everything, I'll be taken care of. And the kingdom of God says, do not be anxious. Am I going to trust the world or am I going to trust God? Where is my faith going to lie? And the last one, really it's the same one. It's the one throughout. Jesus is saying, what? Follow me. He doesn't want people who think his philosophies are sound. He doesn't want people who agree with him. He wants followers, people who will follow where he leads. And if that means a change in your life, that means something needs to change, then let's change it. This has all been pretty harsh, a lot of rebuking. But there's good news here. There's good news. Because the kingdom of God, unlike the kingdom of this world, is eternal. The kingdom of God, at the end of the day, will be the only one left. And for me, I think I want to be in that one. The one that is eternal, the one that goes on forever, the one that brings good news. Now you're saying, wait a minute, take up your cross, suffer, and yeah, Jesus' disciples suffered. Jesus' disciples, many of them were killed for what they believed. Today, in North Korea and Afghanistan and many parts of the world, if you believe and follow Jesus, you run the risk of imprisonment, rape, torture, death. That's having a little skin in the game. And I worry that us over here in nice, comfortable America don't have enough skin in the game. We want to follow Jesus, but not if it's going to interfere with any of these things of this world. We want to follow Jesus, not if it's going to affect our relationships, our finances, or our lifestyle. So we want to have a foot in both places. Oh yeah, things aren't going well. If we get a bad diagnosis, we'll start talking to God. If we lose our job, if we stub our toe, then we want the kingdom of God. The rest of the time, we don't want to be followers, we want to lead. We want to be in charge, not God. But here's the good news. As we go through life, and enough things happen, we begin to learn much better to follow than to lead. We learn that by following, we get some benefits that the rest of the world doesn't get. I live a life devoid of fear. I'm not afraid. I'm a resident of the kingdom of heaven. I'm part of God's kingdom. Those of you in Bible study know my favorite Psalm 56. All day long, my enemies harm me, but what can mortals do to me? Nothing, because I belong to God. Good news is that if you're part of the kingdom of God, not even death makes you nervous. Because everything is in His hands and in His control, and you don't need to worry. Yes, you're going to have hard times. Yes, there are going to be days when you feel like God has forsaken you. But at the end of the day, you know. You have that hope that goes on forever. If I belong to the kingdom of God, then God starts to use me to bring others into His kingdom. And He gives me that thing that just is so great. The kingdom of God is love. All of a sudden I know I'm loved. That there's nothing in this world that can separate me from the love of God, the love that God has for me, the kind of love that Jesus showed when He came and did those things that Peter didn't want Him to do. That kind of love that is so overwhelming that I just can't help but want to share it with other people. And when I do, and someone else switches to the kingdom of God and gets filled with God's love and His peace and His joy and His grace, they start going through life facing the same problems. Nothing changes, but with a different attitude, a different focus, a different belief on the outcome. When I really look at the two kingdoms, I say, this is the one I want. And I start trying to follow Jesus more completely, more fully. I'll never be perfect at it. I'll never top out in any category. But wow, the change in my life and in my heart. And all of a sudden, no more rebuke.